Hello there, you're back here on another edition of Culture Mosaic for this week's lineup of exciting cultural news. October 10th is considered a special day tied to Hanoi, the historic day marking the liberation of the capital city. On this occasion, we'll first delve into two inspiring stories from Hanoi. The first, discovering the art of parcel flower offering, and the second, a chat with Julie Volwa, who is a Hanoi-based French photographer with snapshots of Vietnam in cyanotype. In Connecting Cultures, we'll then meet with a group of expats passionate about sharing the ins and outs of Nha Trang coastal city through a magazine edition. All that and more coming right up. The tradition of creating a parcel of offering flowers here in Hanoi. French photographer and her special connection to Vietnam. Mobile shops carrying the cuisine and soul of Hội An. English magazine discovers Nha Trang. In a country with a strong Buddhist influence like Vietnam, flower offerings is an integral part of the worshipping traditions. Traditionally, flowers were offered on a plate and were often sold in carefully wrapped parcels made of phrynium leaves, and this is a special characteristic shared by many flower villages in Hanoi in the olden days. But as time has went by, most people have changed to using vases. Still, there is one woman who is determined to keep this tradition alive. In our culture and lifestyle this week, we'll get to meet the 80-year-old florist Phan Thị Thu, a local of the once famous Ngọc Hà flower village, to learn more about what goes into a traditional flower parcel and the fading traditional traits of offering flowers on plates.
The old quarter in Hanoi on the 15th day of the lunar month. Amid the usual hustle and bustle of trade, an old woman carefully tends to her flower stand, which occupies a small place on Hanoi Street. Unlike bigger and more fancy shops, her stand has only a few baskets of flowers of various kinds. Yet customers still frequent the stand, as she doesn't sell flowers just for gifts or display. She is one of the last flower vendors to sell offering flowers wrapped in phrynium leaves, a way of package found in traditional flower villages of Hanoi.
Hoa gói thì coi như là từ cổ đến kim thì là để cúng, ngày giỗ thì là mua về là giỗ các cụ, thế rồi là ngày Tết, thế rồi là những các cái ngày mà đại hội hay là gì người ta cũng mua đĩa hoa, người ta dâng Phật, dâng Thánh, dâng Bác Hồ. Hoa gói thì coi như là từ cổ đến kim thì là mùa nào là thức ý tất cả các loại hoa, nói chung là hoa lan này, hoa sói này, hoa huệ này, hoa nhài này, hoa móng rồng này, hoa trứng gà này, hoa lan tây này, hoa lan ta này, mẫu đơn này. Thế là hồng, trắng, hồng, vàng, đỏ, trong khi đó là trong gói hoa nó phải có chục màu sắc. Thế coi như là gói hoa vào thì mình đặt lên cái đĩa thì nó rất là vuông tròn mà nó đẹp, mà nó thơm, có chất lượng.
The art of offering flowers has its roots in Buddhism. Beautiful flowers mean virtue and goodness. They are meant to convey respect to the Buddha. In Vietnamese culture, which is heavily influenced by Buddhism, people also offer flowers to the ancestors. This is a token of filial piety, expressed with help of the sweet scent of flowers.
Cái hoa đĩa này thì người cổ vẫn phải dùng. Ngày xưa là cứ phải gói như thế này. Người nhà thì 5 gói, nhà thì 3 gói, nhà thì chục gói. Có khi người ta đi thanh minh người ta mua hàng 20 gói. Nhiều mộ mà nhiều nơi. Để Tết người ta có mua, người ta để dành 3 ngày Tết.
A daughter of Hanoi's once famous Ngọc Hà flower village, Phan Thị Thu, now 80 years old, continues with the family trade, despite the fast pace of the modern world.
Mẹ chồng tôi rồi là mẹ đẻ tôi là bán cái nghề hoa gói này từ xưa. Cho nên là tôi theo nghề từ năm 13 tuổi đến bây giờ tôi vẫn cứ theo nghề, tôi không bỏ cái nghề hoa gói này. Tôi thì là người cổ, từ xưa nay thì tôi cứ thích là muốn gì thì gì, nhà tôi có công có việc, giỗ Tết là nhà tôi phải có đĩa hoa gói. Tôi yêu hoa, thích hoa cho nên là lúc nào tôi cũng chăm bón cái bông hoa. Như nay mai mà tôi mà già yếu không đi được nữa thì không biết là cái nghề này nó có còn tồn tại được nữa hay không. Bây giờ tôi muốn là truyền đạt lại cho một đứa con hay một đứa cháu nào để nó yêu cái nghề này, nó bán để mọi người dân Hà Nội được mua gói hoa để mà thắp hương tổ tiên. Mà ở Hà Nội mình ấy thì cũng nhiều người dùng lắm, nhiều người thích mua hoa gói tại vì nó nhiều màu sắc mà nó lại thơm nữa, nó lại có hương vị để của các cụ nhà mình hưởng thụ.
Just as she says, people still come to buy her flowers. Kim Hoa, now an elderly woman, has managed to travel all the way from Cầu Giấy district to the Old Quarter to buy a parcel of offering flowers from Thu. She wants to offer flowers to her ancestors in the traditional way she was taught as a child, offering them on a plate.
Ngày xưa thì là thời còn cụ bà, các cụ nói là mua hoa gói để mà cúng tổ tiên, dâng lên tổ tiên. Do đó cái hoa gói nó có nhiều giá trị. Trong gói hoa này có nhiều màu sắc, hương thơm như hoa lan, hoa cúc, hoa nhài, hoa mẫu đơn, hoa hồng để tượng trưng cho lòng thành của con cháu dâng lên tổ tiên. Theo tôi đó là nét đẹp thanh lịch của người Hà Nội để lưu truyền cho các cháu sau này, con cháu sau này luôn được giữ được cái truyền thống tốt đẹp của các cụ từ xưa đến nay.
Today, on ancestral altars, flower plates are being replaced by vases, which are more simple and convenient. With the passage of time, traditions naturally fade. Still, it is precious to see this trade being kept alive, a trade as beautiful as the flowers themselves.
In addition to colorful photos, you can also find the beauty of Vietnam and its people in photos with just shades of green and white like this. Now, it's the beauty of simplicity. After 7 years passionately exploring Vietnam, Julie Vola is presenting to viewers her latest project, Vietnam in Cyanotype, a collection of photos printed in cyanotype, a 19th century technique. In this week's edition of On the Mic, we'll meet with this French photographer and learn more about her special connection with Vietnam through her unique photos.
A woman smiles as she ends her workday. A family on their motorbike, or children returning home from school. With these cyanotype photos, you can't see the colors of landscapes or people, but you can still see their details. And one more thing you can see clearly is the light.
One thing that made me fall in love with Vietnam is the quality of the light. Light is moving, light has a materiality. Almost you can touch it because it's so thick and beautiful.
And that special light of Vietnam is also the inspiration for French photographer Julie Vola to release her first photos of the series Vietnam in Cyanotype.
So first of all, thank you, Julie, for joining our show. Can you share the idea behind the Vietnam in Cyanotype project?
It was homage to Vietnam. For my many years in Vietnam, I want to celebrate the beauty of the country that hosts me. I always think that this country is as beautiful as its people, which is great, amazing people, so it makes an amazing country. It's the beauty of the people, the smiling faces through the years that let me photograph them.
And why did you choose this printing technique, cyanotype, for your project?
I love the blue that it creates. I had not done cyanotype in 15 years or more, so I wanted to get into the game. The print is very different because it has a texture that is different than normal photography. I feel even closer to my image because it's a hand-making process. It's handcrafted process. I start by painting the paper with the product. I have to do it at night. And then I'm at my home and I just need sunlight. So I just put the negative on the paper on my balcony, and then you just wash it off. And that's how you make a print. So it's very handcrafted. It's a more personal approach to printing because I just don't bring the file to a printer and just wait for them to print it with their machine.
From this first batch of Vietnamese sonotype photo, which one is your favorite photo?
One of my favorite prints is an old lady smiling, and you cannot see her teeth because the blue from that print is really deep, very strong, and her face is just like is the only little patch of light in it, and it's much more mysterious in that way. It's very delicate.
You are a French photographer, but since born, you had a special connection with Vietnam, especially Hanoi. Can you tell us a bit about this special connection?
My family were French colonists that came to Vietnam in the late 1800s. My grandfather was born in Hanoi and grew up in Hanoi. After he finished high school, he went back to France. Unfortunately, during the Independence War, he was sent back to Vietnam, and it was a very hard time for him. He wanted Vietnam to be free. He understood the need of Vietnam to be free, but he wanted France and Vietnam to remain friends, and he was not seeing this happening. So I think it broke a little bit of his heart. When I was growing up, I knew about that connection, but not a lot, because I was so young and he didn't speak a lot about it. But when he passed away, I inherited photo albums that depicted their work in Vietnam. When I discovered this, it made me feel like I had to come to Vietnam.
Photos made Julie curious about the mysterious land and about how much it has changed since the photos were taken. After graduating from a renowned French school of art, Julie worked as a professional photographer, arriving in Vietnam 7 years ago.
And these special connections also inspired you to launch the ongoing project called Recalling Hanoi?
When I first arrived in Vietnam 7 years ago, I wanted to work on a photography project that linked my family history with Hanoi of nowadays. And I wanted to work on the old photos that I received, and I wanted to work on the addresses that I knew where my family had houses. But the more I met with Vietnamese people and the more I got to know the city, I realized it should not be about me and my family, but it should be about Hanoi itself. A way to represent a city, it's through the people who live there, and their stories is the city history.
If Vietnam in Cenotype focuses on the light of Vietnam, Recalling Hanoi traces the light of the past. At first, Julie followed her family's photo to learn more about the history and the places they have lived. Then, after talking to local people, she became interested in other memories of the city.
The story of Mrs. Tin, who was a witness of a plane crash during the American War. It's now the iconic B-52 lake, where there's a piece of plane in the little lake. I was very lucky to meet her, a person who was actually there the day the plane crashed. There are stories that are very old, that are recalling from the time of the war, or sometimes there are stories from the younger generation. The power of the project is that it's multi-generational. It's kind of like a map of Hanoi through the time as well. Recalling, it's also mean remembering. And calling is also speaking out loud. So recalling is the fact of remembering out loud something, and it's about people remembering out loud memories of Hanoi.
When will this project conclude?
I think I have to do one last step of the Recalling Hanoi, which is include myself and my stories. And so that means writing them and taking photos. So I'll probably give myself maybe another year to finish it up. and then find someone to help me make it in the form of a book. I would love to introduce Vietnam and my vision of Vietnam to different countries and different cultures. If my work can help to reestablish a little bit of the reality, then I think I've done a great job.
Again, thank you, Julie, for joining our show, and we wish you the best of luck in your future projects.
Thank you so much for having me.
Culture Mosaic is a weekly journal here on VTV International, looking to give you, our viewers, the latest scoop on the cultural scene here in Vietnam. Whether it be the diversity and richness of century-old heritage or the dynamic and exciting vibe of a modern Vietnam, we hope to bring you the many facets of the cultural and artistic soul here in the country. So don't go away, as we have many more news coming your way. No one really knows how long mobile shops have existed on the streets of Hoi An town, and yet the familiar sight of street vendors on sidewalks in the Hoi An's old quarters has become a distinctive cultural trait of the central town. These shops have become an indispensable part of daily life for Hoi An residents, adding both vibrancy and color to the classic beauty of the ancient town. We'll get a chance now in the following to follow Kasia, a Polish expatriate, to discover the unique street cuisine of Hoi An.
Many people have said that Hoi An mobile shops were born out of a distinctive characteristic of the town's resident, and that is the habit of eating snacks. It is also from this love for pastime eating that delicious and unique dishes has been formulated from the most basic ingredients.
3 giờ chiều là họ ăn xé, là ăn miếng đến 5 rưỡi là khách họ ăn, là nói chung là họ tới họ mua là mà có thời gian đó, chứ buổi sáng thì ít á.
For Kasia, who's always curious to try new street food, she is always most impressed by the heavy mobile shop and warm smiles that the street vendors carry. Kasia sees traveling as experiencing, and that experience can be found in humble and beautiful images such as that of this Bánh Đập mobile shop in the old quarters.
Okay, I wonder what happens now. It's a very simple dish, just 3 layers of cracker and a little rice noodle, and a sauce that's so rich that kicks the taste buds and makes this combination a very nice, very light snack between lunch and dinner on a walk during the walk on the streets of Hoi An.
On hot days, the call from these street vendors beckons one to stop and enjoy a street-side treat.
This is one of my favorite sweet street food treats on the streets of Hoi An. It's tofu, but it's silken, delicate, pudding-like. It's steaming hot when put in a bowl, but then very often it's served with ice. I have taken the hot version with delicious jellies from seaweed. A lot of ginger, sweet ginger syrup on top. Delicious taste, and in Hoi An, everywhere, on every corner, morning, evening, just look for it, look for the street vendors around. Cậu ơi, what time do you start working every morning?
9 giờ là chị bắt đầu ra bán.
Very early. And how many baht you sell?
Cỡ 2-3 bát.
2 baht chip. That's a lot. Nice, very good.
Asia met with Ming, the former director of the Hội An Center for Cultural Heritage Management and Preservation, to learn more about Hội An cuisine. From the viewpoint of a cultural researcher like him, the work of street vendors and small sales on the street embody unique cultural and historical values.
Nếu không có gánh hàng rong ở phố Hội An thì có nghĩa là Hội An đã mất cái phần hồn quan trọng. Từ sáng sớm tinh mơ, những cái tiếng guốc đi loẹt kẹt của các cái chị gánh hàng bán, nó diễn ra toàn bộ trong một cái thời gian của một ngày ở phố. Liên tục ngày nào cũng như thế. Nó là cái nơi mà cung ứng kịp thời cho dân phố, cho những người mà đến làm ăn ở phố, là những cái món ăn, những cái đặc sản của từng cái địa phương một, mà người ta dồn tụ lại Hội An. Cho nên Hội An có thể nói gọi là nơi mà hội tụ của ẩm thực là thế.
In comparison with other towns and cities, mobile cuisine in Hội An has its own particular traits, diverse yet selective. These traits have and will continue to live on with time, accompanying the unique values of Hội An town.
In the previous editions of Culture Mosaic, we have introduced many unique ways that foreigners express their love for Vietnam, such as making films, taking photos, or painting pictures and composing music. In Nha Trang, a group of expats who share a passion for travel and a love for the city have actually created an English magazine called Discover Nha Trang to promote the tourism in the coastal city. Let's tour the beach town now through this new magazine in this week's edition of Connecting Cultures.
If you are a visitor, what would you look for when you come to a new city? Food, entertainment, sports, local cultures, or maybe just all of them like me? Thus, I felt so lucky when I found Discover Nha Trang, a magazine that covers all the information that I need. In this week, Connecting Cultures, let's come and learn more about the guys behind these special editions.
The team of Discover Nha Trang magazine is holding a photo shoot to prepare for the upcoming edition. The theme of their race issue is bringing the summer vibes of this beach town to tourists, beginning with some colorful drinks and local dishes. Gary is in charge of the magazine's pictures. He is also one of the founders of Discover Nha Trang.
In the beginning, it was a group of people with passion in traveling, passion in photography and design. And we found Vietnam and Nha Trang a really nice place where you can get all these things together. Because back in home, in Moscow, people keep everything inside. But here it's different, and you can get so many emotions and so many cool shots. And we wanted to share this knowledge with other people, with other travelers, other foodies.
In July 2015, Discover Nha Trang was first published with 2,000 copies. Since then, it has published 6 issues, giving readers a sense of freshness and fun through close-ups of life, people, and the unique pastimes of this beach town. The magazine contains photos with the Western style. There is an old woman selling small things at the market, the bright smiles of women rowing basket boats, and unique street food vendors. All of these things are featured through the lens of foreigners who also live here. To learn more about the making of the magazine, we followed Com, the chief editor, during one of his work days. How can you call it summer without getting sweaty? That's why Com visited a fitness center to give readers some tips to stay fit in this summer.
So this edition is a summer edition. So what we're doing is trying to educate the customers and the members and the readers on how they can stay fit in the summer. We're going to focus more on the group exercise, the aerobics, the Zumba, because that's the fun stuff that everybody likes to do for the summer.
The main thing that makes it different is that it's created in a different style to a normal magazine. It's more like a book. It fits on your coffee table and it's got a lot of interesting stories for people to read about the people, the places, the food and the culture of Nha Trang, and what makes Nha Trang a beautiful destination. So we put a lot of effort into creating a unique style with very good photography, with good writing, and most importantly with good stories. So the magazine grow with the city because Nha Trang is growing very quickly and changing very quickly, so we're happy to be a part of that in covering how it's changing and all the new exciting places and things that are happening here.
It's easy to find Discover Nha Trang at restaurants, hotels and airports, where they are offered for free. In the future, the team of Discover Nha Trang hopes to develop the magazine into Discover Vietnam to promote the beauty of the whole country to tourists.
And that has also wrapped up this edition of Culture Mosaic. If you would like to provide any feedback or comment on anything you've seen here on our show, please feel free to write to us at vtvinternational@vtv.vn and make sure to include both your name and address. You can also log on to our website at vtv4.vn or our YouTube channel at vtv4go for more of our program. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode of Culture Mosaic. Until then, goodbye for now.